Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk, and today I'm bringing you a fabulous little project using the You're a Peach using Sweet as a Peach stamp set, the coordinating peach dies, and some of the lovely You're a Peach paper. So I'll just run through the paper with you because it is absolutely beautiful. You see a lovely little double jar, because one of the items that comes with this is a set of 6 mini jam jars, and they are perfect for popping sort of sweets in. You can see those got jelly beans in. But you get 6 in a box of these lovely little jars, and they're plastic, food safe. Obviously wouldn't recommend putting really hot stuff in, they're going to melt. It's plastic, you know, because obviously when you're sterilising, just decide how you're going to sterilise if you're going to put food things in. But this little box you'll see here lifts up. In here, I mean, I've actually just popped some bath salts in as a little gift. So some Himalayan bath salts and some magnesium ones, decorated with a little bit of the DSP. And then you could close this either with a magnet, but I've just done it with, in case you haven't got the magnets, with just a little flap that tucks into there as well. Some fabulous tips on using this stamp set for you as well. And the paper is just beautiful. You'll see here it's got lovely pale papaya, calypso coral in it, peach themed images, and these lovely floral images. You've got a bit of bumblebee in there and pear pizzazz. Lovely balmy blue as well. Not a blue that I actually use very much, but in this it just looks beautiful. I think maybe the solid balmy blue cardstock is just not doing it for me. Some super stripes, always useful, and calypso coral. Some sort of watercolour effect peaches there. Love this one with the sort of hints of yellow. Some balmy blue flowers in there as well. Useful sort of pear pizzazz going through to kind of old olive as well, and then finally lovely balmy blue at the end. So yeah, so that's the paper, that's the stamp set. The dies cut out not only some of the images, all of these main images, but you've got accent ones as well. So you've got little teeny tiny flowers, little leaves, and they cut out the leaves as well, and this lovely sort of like bar that fits these extra little words as well. I've got loads of projects to share with you using this. I'll do a sweet introduction video as well, so click on the link for that, and let's get started. So we'll start off with our stamping. Photopolymer stamp set, so you want your stamping pierce mat. I'm going to be stamping out a couple of the just one of the peaches. I'm not going to do decorating the jars. That is literally as simple as cutting a strip of DSP 7 inches by whatever width you want. On this one I went wider because the magnesium salts are fairly plain. On this one I went narrower because obviously the Himalayan salts are a pretty pink colour, so I wanted that to come through as well. And I've just, so the same way, I've just stamped and then handwritten on the top of those as well. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do some stamping first. That's a bit of a tatty bit of card, but hey, you'll get the effect. One of the other things that would be really useful to have is sponge daubers. Some people don't like the feel of these. Do you know what? They're great, and for this they work really well. These are distinctive stamps, so you are going to get kind of patches of white. So just tap 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 in your pale papaya. Don't do what I've done, which is to make the edge of your block all mucky. I could probably have done with using my smaller block, actually. That's probably part of the issue. Use your dauber, just pick up some calypso coral, and I just put it round the edge and a little bit in the centre there. And then when you stamp that, you get a lovely kind of hint of the pink coming through. And I'm going to do the same effect with the flowers as well. So and the flowers and the peaches work in exactly the same way. Both of them coordinate with the leaves. So I'm just going to give that my cats. I've been stamping downstairs, and my cats, since we lost our lovely old boy dog, the cats have been really attentive. Great, not so great for my stamps because I have to share my crafting space. So tap 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 again with the peaches, and then I just kind of daub it around to one edge and add those in. You'll see you get that lovely shading. And then I'm going to do exactly this, or something very similar with the flowers. So again, pale papaya. I've got a separate bit of card for this. Calypso coral, and this time I'm just going to pop just the tiniest hint in the centre of those flowers, and then stamp those. And then I'm coming in with this little tiny little centre and just adding those. I found that really brought the flowers to life when you add those to them. So there we go, that's our stamping done. Now if you don't like the white edge around your stamps, then stamp these onto some coloured cardstock. So you could obviously stamp that on a bit of pale papaya if you wanted. That would show up really well. Now with the dies, they're really easy to line up, as with all of these. I'm actually just going to do a rough cut around that. And again, just so that I can pop them through my mini cut and emboss really easily in one pass. So, moving the scraps out of the way. So yeah, things that are worth doing. Grab yourself a bit of Post-it note. So these flowers are like a sketchy effect. So just wait till you've covered up those edges. Pop a piece of Post-it note over the top just to hold that in place. If you've got some low tack tape, make sure it is really low tack, because otherwise you're going to end up losing half of your stamping. You don't want that to happen. I also use the actual Post-it note tape, but all I've done is just cut the top off some Post-it notes here. The beauty of the Post-it note tape is that it's that bit narrower, so that you can see more easily where you've put your stamp and your die. And this one, when you line it up, one of them has got a slight point on it, so just line that up with the pointy peach, which is the one down at the bottom. And then all we need to do now is grab my mini cut and emboss along with the plates. So you've got base plate, then one that I keep for cutting, and then a top one. So that's my bottom, well worn already cutting plate. Just shows how good it is because it gets used so much. So convenient, I find. Yeah. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just lining that up on there. And the only thing to remember here is not to go above that black line when you're adding your dies, because otherwise it just makes it tricky to get through, because it needs that space just to flex down. So I'm just going to run that through. Probably gone wibbly wobbly for you. Just pop those off to one side, and let's go through the flowers. So again, just line those up. So you've got 3 sizes of flower, and what I have done is actually put a little mark, which I'll show you in another video where I'm doing direct stamping. I actually mark my stamp so I know which orientation to put it in. It's not difficult to work out, but it just saves me time. I'm doing a really rubbish job of that. Where's me tape? Obviously used that piece of Post-it note a few too many times. There we go. Okay. So, things I've also die cut just in advance. I've stamped the leaf, the front. Actually, that's just in plain pear pizzazz. I've die cut a branch out of pear pizzazz, and those are some flowers that I did earlier. And you know me, I always have a little pouch full of extra flowers, so that just gives me some extras to use in there as well. Something else that I do, I don't suppose I've started doing. So I now draw around these with my chalk marker, and that just helps me see when I'm finished a project, that make sure I've got all of my dies back in place. I have a little metal dish that I put them in as well. This is my kind of anything metal, well, all sorts of stuff. So I do tend to pop anything in there that's kind of kicking around. It is magnetic, just to help keep it safe, but better still, just keep them popped away when you've finished. So if I clear the decks down, so this will probably be a slightly longer video today. So this is from the Tasteful Labels as well. So you see we've got flowers here, we've got a peach, we've got a leaf, and we've got a branch as well. So now what we want to do is actually do our box itself. Now, because the size of the box, you can get it out of one piece of cardstock, but you need to do a bit of manipulation. So you're going to need a piece of A4 cardstock. I'll work in centimetres. I have done it in inches so that I'll add those onto my blog. So first thing is to cut a strip that is 6.5 centimetres wide by 22.5. And obviously the scraps, perfect for stamping on, just a little extra bit. And you're going to score that at 5.5 centimetres and at 17 centimetres. That's 5.5 centimetres from each end. So that's your first piece. So coral cardstock. So the card I'm going to cut at 11.3 centimetres. This is just to give a narrow border. And then I'm going to cut a piece that is 4.3, a piece that's 5.3, and a piece that is 6.3. So those are our 3 layers for the front, the flap and the top of the box. And then with the DSP, I've got lots of different patterns here that you can obviously use whichever you fancied. So I thought what I might use is a piece like this with the bold peaches underneath, and you can have a nice little bit of trim. Or actually I'm just going to go for that all over pattern on there. So this I'm going to trim down to 11 centimetres, like so. And I'm going to want one that is 6, one that is 5, and then one that is 4, and that's where you could go for a slightly different pattern. Might be a little bit, let's have a look. No, I'll just go for the same pattern. There we go. And with this, I'm just popping my scraps out of the way as I work as well. So, okay. So now we want to do some layering. So the front of our box is this very narrow one. So I'm just going to use a corner rounder and come in and corner round those front 2 edges. Like so. That's going to go onto there. And I'm doing this layering now so that it's then nice and set when I want to add it onto my box. So you see that literally just gives a really tiny little border around. The other 2 pieces, just very straightforward, just some nice tombow on the back there. And the same again. Now we're going to be doing box construction, so I'd recommend you use the Seal Plus for that. Really good, makes a really good strong seal on our boxes. Okay, so from your remaining piece, you're going to trim that down to 13.5 centimetres. I've seen nice little bit there for adding sentiments and things, and trim that down to 23 centimetres. Now, in terms of the scoring, on the short edge, you're just going to score at 1 centimetre on both sides. And then on the longer edge, you're going to score at 4.5, at 10, at 16.5, and at 22 centimetres. And that creates our basic box. So if you reinforce those score lines first, that'll make the trimming a little bit easier. The 1 centimetre ones are always the trickiest ones to do, and all will make sense. So this section at the top is going to be our drop down flap. So the first thing you're going to do is just trim up to that score line and trim away. The next two pieces, the next section is the flaps that tuck into the top. So keeping it folded, I'm just going to cut the corner on that, like so. The next section is the back, and again you want to keep these flaps, so again I'm just going to cut off those corners at 45 degrees, and that's to stop them overlapping and catching. And then again that very last section, same again, take those off at about 45 degrees. So you will end up with something that looks like this, or nearly. Just need to trim that last bit at a sharper angle than that. There we go. Okay, so this is the front flap, this is the top, back and the base, and this section here is what we're going to add on to the side to create our box. So let's find my Seal Plus, and I'm just going to add Seal Plus to those two flaps, and all I'm going to do is just line that up. First one by turning it over. We'll find that the easiest way, like so. And all I've done is folded that underneath, and again just added that as well. So that now becomes the front of our box, and all we've got to do is glue these bottom bits in. Now I'm gluing these in. If you struggle with Seal Plus, the thin red tape is really good for this. In fact, you might find it easier if I'm showing you to actually do it while it's flat. And if you get any overlap, just tuck it inside the crease lines. Can you see there? Hopefully you can see I've just literally pushed that in. And then all you need to do now, and this is the trickiest bit, is you're folding the box in and lining it up. Now I find if I just line it up on that front edge, and from the inside turn it over, and you're just going to, once it's nicely lined up, just press down on those little tabs. So inside, hopefully you can see that's nice and clear. Okay, and then what I would normally have done is actually to decorate before I created the box. That would have been a helpful thing, wouldn't it? So you can do it either way. I suppose the reason I don't do it on this one, because the box is, it's not a difficult box, it's just slightly more, because of that gluing, a little bit more tricky. Probably adding it afterwards, as long if you're using wet glue, is just as easy to do. And that way if you go wrong with your box, you haven't wasted all your layers as well. So there's our front flap. Just add that in. My front big section. And I do love this paper, this kind of all over paper, and you could actually recreate that potentially with some of the stamps that you've got as well, with that all over floral design, or a version of. Perhaps I'll try that in another video. There we go. And then just add this one onto the top. So I'm just folding that backwards to give me a flat surface to work on. I'll just pop that on the top there. So we're almost ready now. All you want to do is add your couple of little jars. There we go. I'll use one which I've got with some beans in, and one that's still empty just because I haven't put anything else in it yet. Obviously that's when you'd add your decoration. Now for the peach on the bottom, this is what I find is the easiest way to do them. So is take your leaf, and on the smaller leaf just put a little on the bottom edge of it and a bit on the bottom of the stalk, and that then fits really nicely on the top of our peach like so. While that's drying, I'm just going to stamp my happy birthday. I'm using a bit of Calypso Coral. Just pick out the Calypso Coral in that card. As I said, tasteful label, really useful stamp set, stamp die set to have in your stash. I've just got a bit of Tombow in a fine tip dispenser here. Basically I'm waiting for some more fine tip glue to arrive. I'm just going to add that branch across there. So now to get a bit of dimension into these, I've just got a piece of foam, and this is the foam from our stamps block storage. And so all I'm going to do is just press in the centre of each of these flowers to create a bit of dimension. You see, just doing as simple as that, and then add the flowers as you want. Obviously, if you do your stamping first, as I have, you can easily pop those in. I think I've used my two large and a small, but you could obviously use whichever you wanted. They just happen to come in a nice trio. And all that's left to do is grab yourself some dimensionals. I'd recommend using our big ones for this. And I'm just going to add dimensionals to the bottom section of this, but quite a block, because you want it to give a reasonable amount of depth. Close your box up, and you're just going to add the peach to the centre bottom there. And that is enough to hold that in place. Add some dimensionals to the back of your label for the top. Just centre that on there. And there we have a pair of peachy gift boxes, ready to gift with our lovely little mini jam jars in. Great fun, and I hope you like them. Which do you prefer? I think, do you know what? I think my second one, I don't know. I love both papers. But either way, it's a great little gift, and just ready to be gifted. So thanks for watching. Come back and see me soon. Bye for now.